Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Algebra 2 learning. Today we're going to be talking about wrong place. We are going to be talking about, right here, two counting principles. So we are introducing a new section in statistics for Algebra 2. So this is kind of like the beginning course of it. Two counting principle is simply when you have two events both are performed or either is performed. So to give an example of what I'm talking about, here are some of those two counting principles. So one example would be how many ways can you choose a pizza out of 4 choices and then a drink out of 3 choices. So here you can see what's happening is that you have two events and you want one to happen and then another one to happen. So this is basically the case of both events being performed. Whereas another example of this would be how many ways can you choose a pet of between 4 cats and 3 dogs. So again, here you have two events, but unlike the first scenario, you have either the first case that you want to happen or the second case that you want to happen. So the key words that you're looking for in this case would be either and then or. So we'll see how that actually works out algebraically right now. So let's go to the first scenario right here where I want to solve for how many ways can you choose a pizza out of 4 choices and then a drink out of 3 choices. So the way I see it is that if I were to draw kind of like a small diagram so you can see what's happening over here, let's go ahead and say you choose the pizza first. So you can have either pizza A, you can then have pizza B, you have pizza C, or you have pizza D. Then out of each of those choices, then you have to choose a drink and you have 3 selections that you can choose from. So each one of those would then branch off into 3 parts. You can have either drink number 1, we have drink number 2, or drink number 3. For part B is the same thing, either drink 1, drink 2, or drink 3. Drink 1, drink 2, or drink 3 for C, and then the last one will be drink 1, drink 2, or drink 3 for D. So in the very end, you see the entire column over there in blue. Those are basically your total different number of ways of doing this. Simply put, all you're really doing is just taking one number multiplied by the other. So in the first event, you have 4 choices from the pizza, and then you multiply by 3, which is the number of choices for the drinks. And when you multiply those two together, the answer would then be 12 then. Now, in the second scenario where I asked for how many ways can you choose a pet between 4 cats and 3 dogs, you're basically going to select only either one or the other. You can't choose more than one. So in essence, what's happening is there's really only one event happening. You're just going to choose one or the other, just as I said. So in that case, I see its total as 4 plus 3. There's really just no other variations between it because it's either A or B or C or D or 1 or 2 or 3, right? You have to choose one out of the 7 right here. So in that scenario, we're going to have 7 different ways that you can choose a single pet. Now, once again, the keywords that you're really looking for a lot of times is that you're looking for either the words and then, or you are looking for the word or. Now, the way it usually works is if I were to write like a general formula for this, let's say that we have 2 different events. In the case of the first one, where you have 2 events and you want one to happen one after the other, we'll go ahead and say the number of ways that you can have event A and then event B to happen, right? If you want one event to happen right after the other one, you would multiply the 2 numbers together, just like we did in the first example. So the answer will be n of A multiplied by the n of B. But whereas if I want the total number of ways to have 2 things, to choose from 2 things, and I want one or the other, one way of wording it is either the number of ways of either A or B. And in that scenario, we are going to add the 2 numbers together. So it'll be n of A plus n of B. Okay, so I guess this is basically what we're going to be depending on for this section in order to solve for our problems. So let's look at some other examples over here where we can use this 2 counting principle. if you have 7 girls and 4 boys, how many ways are there to select a boy and then a girl? So just going through each one. The first case right here, the question you want to ask yourself is, again, how many events are there happening? In this case, there are 2 events because you are selecting a boy and then right there a girl. So that tells me key things. 2 events, so that means that we're most likely going to be multiplying the numbers together. And also the keywords, as I said, and then, because I have one happening after the other. So here is another way to kind of write it so then you can see it a little bit better. Let me create 2 slots over here, right? Because we have 2 events, one after the other. And the word and then, so that means I'm going to multiply these 2 numbers together. Now, in the first case, you're going to select a boy, and there are a total of 4 of them. And then in the second case, there are 7 girls, so that's going to be 7 right there. So 4 times 7, the answer is going to be equal to 28. Okay, no difficult math or anything whatsoever. In the second problem, or the second part of the problem, this time I want to select either a boy or a girl. So as I said, look for those keywords to help you figure out, is it going to be an and situation, and then situation where you multiply, or an or situation where you add. Since we're looking at either one or the other, the answer is going to be either 7. It's going to be 7 plus 4, and actually it really should be 4 plus 7, but it's still the same thing because of the commutative property. So the answer in this second case is going to be equal to 11. Now, in the third case, this is kind of like something that leads into the next section. What I would like to do is select 2 boys without replacements. So again, we're going to think about what is happening over here. We are going to select a boy, and then we're going to select another boy. That's what really the problem is saying. And as soon as I say the word and then, you'll probably get the idea, oh yes, we are going to go ahead and multiply the 2 together. So just like before in part A, we're going to go ahead and set out 2 events like this, where we have 2 numbers multiplied by each other. In the first event, you are going to have a boy to select from, and there are a total of 4 of them. So the way I see it is just going to be same 4, just like before. Now, the tricky part over here is that it says without the words, without replacements. So what that means is you're not going to put the boy back, because as soon as you use the boy, or as soon as you select a boy, he's going to be gone, and you're going to only have 3 to select from. So then that means in the second event, that's going to be 3. So the answer is actually 4 times 3, which is equal to 12. So here, the key thing to consider is that there is without replacement, which tells me that's why it's going to be 1 less than that. Okay. Now let's look at this final example over here. Kyle has 8 pairs of shoes, 4 short shorts, and 3 tube tops. Assuming all the clothing are distinct, how many outfits can Kyle put together? So we have 3 different things to consider here. You have 8 pairs of shoes, we have 4 pairs of shorts, and 3 tube tops. The way I think about this problem is when you're creating an outfit, you need all 3 to happen simultaneously, or better yet, one after another. You need a pair of shoes, you need a shorts, and you also need a tube top. So that means that we have 3 events. In essence, it's kind of like the first thing that we did over here, where I created this little diagram to show how many ways you can pick a pizza and then a drink. So for this problem right here, then that means that there are 3 events happening, one after the other. It could be simultaneously, but doesn't matter. Nonetheless, it's going to be multiplied because it's going to be all 3 events I want to happen at once. And it's not one or the other. You can't choose a pair. The outfit doesn't consist of just a pair of shoes, or just the shorts, or just the tube tops. So in the end, we're going to take 3 numbers and multiply them together. The first case, we have 8 pairs of shoes to choose from, so that means it's going to be 8. Then the second case, we're going to have 4 pairs of shorts to choose from, so that means for each one we branch out by 4. And then finally, for the last one, we have 3 tube tops to choose from, so that's going to be multiplied by 3. So our answer is going to be 8 times 4 times 3, so that's the same thing as 8 multiplied by 12, which comes out to be 96. All right, so that should be the end of the video. Thank you for watching.